Hello and welcome to today's video. My name's Haley and I just dropped my pen. Okay. This is part 2 of 2, discussing the shadow of inertia. And yeah, I'm gonna be real with you guys. Today I feel a little off. So I tried to record this video yesterday actually, and then my phone storage kept going off and deleting the video, and then construction noise, and there's something else too. And at a certain point I was like, you know what, I'm gonna stop forcing this and I'm gonna go to the sauna, and I did that. So I'm here today, a little low energy, but going to do my best to articulate the second half of this shadow state of inertia for you all. Once again, this is the Gene Keys by Richard Rudd, my personal downloads. If you agree with them, amazing. If you don't, amazing. I love to see the comments, whether they are opening up a conversation that is in harmony with what I've said or the opposite. I think it's really interesting and important to explore different perceptions and viewpoints. So yeah, feel free to drop a comment of what stuck out to you, what resonated, or where you think I could have expanded more upon. I'm always curious to see all that. If you haven't seen part 1 of this inertia shadow state, Gene Key 9, I recommend backtracking and going to watch that, but also Time's an Illusion. So you can hop right in right now if that is feeling your vibe. The last thing we left off with was talking about trusting the unknown. He painted this kind of cyclical path. This is what inertia looks like. You're taking this 1,000 steps, but you're going in a circle, so you're not really going anywhere. When in the gift frequency of determination, the path starts to look like a path. There's my very silly drawing of a path. You're taking steps and they're actually leading somewhere. Maybe not exponentially or linearly, but still going forward, moving. So we want to escape that circular donut path and get into a path that is moving us forward. And the only way an individual can do so is trusting the unknown. And once again, the person at the gift frequency knows they're going forward, but maybe they don't know where they're going, but they do know that God's got their back. Evolution is pushing them into a greater level of experience and love, and that is enough to satiate them. And Richard Rudd talks about how the way to start to trust the unknown is to charge up every single activity, even the mundane, with the utmost purpose. Without a sense of higher purpose, he says, human beings move in circles, creating energy fields that prevent abundance. So this means when I don't have a purpose, a goal, a vision, a higher order, a connection to the divine, whatever you want to call it, I start to move in this donut-shaped inertia, 1,000 steps that lead nowhere. So this implies that if I do have a higher purpose, I escape this cyclical path, and therefore I allow all abundance. Okay, and abundance here is more than just monetary wealth. Abundance of money, yes. Finances, yes. Even success in career, perhaps. But also abundance can correlate to abundance of friendships, abundance of deep relational love within a romantic partnership, abundance of energy, abundance of of seashells. That's what I have an abundance of. Abundance of nature, whatever, abundance in all areas is opened up to you when you're able to escape this donut hole, 1,000-stepped path that leads nowhere. My camera's off now. Okay, so that's great. When I have a higher purpose, I can escape the shadow state of inertia and unlock all infinite levels of abundance. Now, this brought up a very interesting question to me. What is my higher purpose? Which I'm sure is everyone's what's my purpose? What's my purpose? We're all just running around trying to find our purpose. And Richard Rudd doesn't tell us how to find our purpose. He just says that once you have your sense of higher purpose, you escape the shadow frequency, you escape the donut hole, you unlock all abundance. And he keeps going, and he says that we're here to make magic happen. You watching this, me, Richard Rudd, your neighbors, your friends, even your enemies, all of us are here to make magic happen. And we cannot do this unless every single waking moment, even as I'm drinking water, or doing the laundry, or looking at the view, even the mundane tasks of life, must be dedicated and focused toward a single overreaching vision or ideal or higher purpose. So there's so many ways to describe this concept of a higher purpose. And he's saying that magic happens when each and every action we take in the 3D reality is in conjunction with this higher purpose. Okay, so higher purpose. Okay, that's great, Haley. That's great, Richard Rudd. But how do I find the higher purpose? I'm going to offer you what I believe to be the universal higher purpose, and I personally allow this to be my higher purpose. Take it or leave it, of course, but this is so broad yet also so specific that I do believe it's specific enough to speak to you, the individual, but also broad enough to cover everyone. It's kind of this weird paradox of a higher purpose. And the way I came to this, actually, I'll just say, is because for years and years and years, I've been thinking, what is my higher purpose? Is it to make videos? Is it to serve models that are struggling with eating disorders? Is my higher purpose to have a loving family? Is it all of those things or none of those things? And, I kind of chase myself in a circle trying to figure it out. And then one day, about, 7 months ago, it dawned on me, okay, very simply put, Haley, your higher purpose is presence. That encapsulates all of which I just named: having a family, helping models, making videos, and it also includes that which I haven't even yet come to brainstorm. My highest purpose is presence, and I really believe that this, once again, is such an oddly specific yet broad purpose that can apply to anyone. If my highest purpose is presence, if my most pinnacle ideal is presence, that means every single thing I do, when I do it in alignment with my highest purpose, is done in presence. Making these videos I try to do in alignment with my purpose, I try to do in presence. When I go on a date, I do my best to give my highest purpose, my highest presence. When I read, I do my best. You get the point. You can literally apply it to everything. So the thing about things that are simple, in my opinion, are simple. You can say it fast, but to digest something that's simple is never ending. So you could keep rabbit holing, fractaling, understanding, falling into this purpose of presence, in my opinion. And it is infinite in the sense that it can be applied to all of your dreams and those of which you have not yet dreamed up. So I offer you that. Your highest purpose being to be present in every single moment. Take it or leave it. I'm going to continue this video on with that notion that you've adopted that, at least for the rest of this video, as your highest purpose. So I'm going to be speaking through that lens because that is how I've annotated the rest of this chapter. So let's just assume, you who's watching this, your highest purpose is presence, to do everything with the utmost consciousness and awareness to the best of your ability, knowing that if you show up as your best, most conscious self, you will keep unlocking those new levels of abundance. So he says that this ninth shadow, this inertia, this inability to be connected to the higher purpose, which once again I've offered you as presence, this inability to be present is what is keeping us trapped. keeping us not evolving, staying stagnant, feeling life force draining from us. It's essentially an addiction to trivia, he says, an addiction to stress, anxiety, low vibrational emotions and chemicals, an addiction to drama is keeping us trapped. Because think about all of those things I just said. Stress, anxiety, drama, all of this is of the mind. Presence, which once again is the higher purpose I'm offering you to adopt for the rest of this video, is not in the mind, it's in the heart. So cheesy, but so true. Presence is felt, presence is experienced. You don't need to think about being present. It's not a doing, it's a being. So this shadow state is an addiction to trivia, an addiction to the mind, to analysis, logistics, stress, anxiety, low vibrational chemicals, drama. Oh, what if I should have said that? Or, oh, I wish I could have done that. Regretting the past, predicting the future. Getting out of here and into here is to be in alignment with the higher purpose and get out of the shadow state and into the gift frequency of determination. I'm determined. I'm dedicated to feeling good. I'm dedicated to feeling, to experiencing, to being present. And I like this line he says here. He says, unless it is beautiful or practical, it can safely be classified as trivia, as of the mind, as shadow frequency. Unless it's beautiful or practical. Think about something beautiful, whether it's a person, maybe that person you have a crush on, or your parent, or your little cousin that you love so much, someone you think is just so beautiful inside and out. Think of a place that you think is beautiful, maybe your favorite beach, or even a thing or experience. Just think of something that's beautiful. When you really start to fall into the image of something that's beautiful, you start to experience and feel it. You're in here. So unless it's either beautiful or practical meaning it makes so much sense there's nothing left to think about, therefore you're able to come into the heart and experience. He says unless it's either beautiful or practical, it can safely be classified as trivia. I just love the clarity of that line because it so clearly depicts that beauty draws us into the heart space. True beauty allows us to experience, feel, and be. And something that's practical makes so much sense, there's nothing left to contemplate, which also naturally draws us into a state of relaxation and surrender. Beauty and practicality draw us into the higher purpose of presence. So the first contemplation of this video, once again, these contemplations are meant to be fun, not to stress you out, is what in my life is beautiful and practical, either or both? What helps me just feel? And then vice versa. What in my life is neither beautiful or practical? Another way to say that, what in my life causes trivia, drama, stress, low vibrational chemicals to arise in the mind and make me feel anxious and and confused and off, and gosh, I could just go on. Because that trivia, that which is neither beautiful or practical, is what is keeping you in this little donut, this state of inertia, this shadow. Wow, guys, this page was just like so amazing. Look at that. Yeah, important to contemplate that. The more you can classify the trivia, the more you can adequately choose and discern to put your energy, your attention, your precious life force elsewhere, which will naturally graduate you out of this shadow of inertia and into the gift frequency of determination. So he says the only way out of this field of inertia is to punch through it with one huge act of will. You have to step out of the victim frequency. This is the only way out of this shadow state, because it's a circle. So you have to really wake up and choose to exit the circle. One huge act of will. You have to really want it more than anything. You have to really want that which is beautiful and practical. You have to really want to not be experiencing stress, trauma, drama, all of these things. Because when you really want something, not only can you declare it with your mind and your mouth, you can also declare it through your action. Actions speak louder than words. I'm sure you've heard that. When you really want something, your actions show it. So I'll just give you guys an example. Obviously, there's still days where I fall into a shadow frequency, of course. But for the most part, I would say I am determined in the sense that I'm dedicated to feeling good. I really try my best to stay connected. And yeah, occasionally I fall and find myself in states of inertia or downward spirals, in which case I become redetermined and start to enter that gift frequency again. But I would say as a whole, I rest within this gift of determination and occasionally fall into inertia. Whereas maybe a year ago, my resting state was completely in this state of inertia. And what got me out of that and got me to transition more towards this gift frequency and less into these states of inertia was this one huge act of will. For me, I went to a meditation retreat. We meditated like 5 to 8 hours a day for a week, and that was enough to get me over this hump of inertia. It doesn't have to be this extreme for everyone. Some people, a huge act of will is simply one day they wake up and they're so fed up with being the victim, with complaining, that they just stop. Some people, they change jobs, they drop all their friends, they create new and healthy habits. Like, there's so many ways to punch through this huge act of will. Some people, it's, you know what, I'm gonna join AA. I'm done being an alcoholic. I'm gonna really give all my effort, even if it's hard, and try to work through this. So it can look many different ways. And it's this one huge act of will that gets you out of this forever, never-ending donut shape and into the beginning stages of the gift frequency, which, once again, everyone's frequency fluctuates, right? So sometimes I'm embodied in this gift, and then other times I'm not. So it's not like once you leave inertia, you never go back. And even saying all this, I'm like, it's not this linear. I can't even talk about it in this way. I'm kind of I'm a dog chasing its own tail right now, trying to explain this. I think you guys understand what I'm saying now. One huge act of will to essentially start the awakening process, to step out of the victim frequency. You are either too focused on the future instead of giving your full attention to whatever is right in front of you, or there's no sense of overall purpose moving beneath your daily acts and activities. These are the two things that keep you trapped within this inertia. You're either always worrying about the future, having anxiety about the future, your mind is, or you have no overall sense of purpose. Once again, I've offered you this higher purpose of presence. Or you have no presence while you're doing things, even the mundane tasks of life, even drinking the water, even eating your food, even putting your socks on. The more you can interject this higher purpose, this presence into every act, the more you are able to escape this shadow state of inertia. So that's nice, right? That makes a lot of sense. That's very practical. Okay, the more present I am, the more determined I am. This is practical advice that Richard Rudd is giving us. And remember, that which is practical and beautiful helps us get into the heart space, graduate into the gift frequency of determination. It's a sense of inner focus. I'm dedicated to presence. I'm determined to being here. And then he leaves us with the last little cheesy line. There's truly nothing in life you cannot accomplish if you put your heart squarely behind it. When I read that, my heart smiled. I felt a sense of relief, so I know it's true. It's very sweet. Thank you, Richard Rudd, for that. The last portion of this chapter, he goes over the repressive and reactive nature of this shadow state. The repressed nature of inertia looks like reluctancy, meaning you have an inability to do anything about your situation, despite the fact that maybe consciously you can understand it and even see a way out. Even though I can contemplate this, there's still an inner paralysis, a stuckness, a lack of energy, a lack of motivation. I feel frozen. So I'll give you guys an example of this. I've had this before for sure. When I quit my job as a model, okay, I gave myself a few months off, just heal, figure it out, whatever. And then at a certain point, I was like, okay, I need to start doing something productive. And, you know, I could see where my talents were drawing me. I wanted to start helping people. I wanted to start making these videos. I wanted to start writing a book. I wanted to start all these things. And I saw where my talents were straying me toward, or leading me toward rather. But there was an inner resistance towards all of these things. So I had this kind of repressive nature of reluctancy. I want to go there. I actually see that I have the talent to go there. But something in me is like, And he says the reason for this is you're required to leave your safety zone. I have to go somewhere I've never gone before. I've never mentored other models. I've never made videos on YouTube, really, of this nature. I've never written a book. I have to leave my safety zone and move directly toward my fears, directly toward the unknown. And remember, he says that trusting the unknown is what graduates you into the gift frequency of determination. So ultimately, it comes down to the power of the human will, he says. I, the individual, have to one day get so fed up with how reluctant, how energy drained I feel that, you know what, fuck it. I don't care if I've never written a book, I'm gonna start writing it. I don't care if I'm not a YouTuber or I've never talked about this stuff, I'm just gonna do it. I don't care that I'm scared to step into a new career path. I see it's my calling, I feel the itch and the urge, and I know I have the tools, words and advice, and open presence to help, so I'm gonna go there. So the only way out of this, once again, comes down to willpower, conjuring up enough energy to choose of your own free will through your action, through your heightened desire, to charge the fear, to conjure up courage. Even though I'm afraid, I'm still gonna go there. This is the only way out of the repressive nature. The only way out is through. I wish I could tell you guys something different, but that's just how it is. So that's the repressive nature. The reactive nature is diverted. And sorry, before I go into the reactive nature, I wrote a question at the bottom of this repressive nature of reluctancy. And I feel it really sums up that section. It ultimately comes down to, how bad do you want to break free? How fed up are you of being devoid of life force energy? The day you're actually fed up is the day you'll do something about it. Now moving into the reactive nature of diverted. He says these people are highly restless and fidgety. Nothing inside them can sit still. It's not a lack of energy, it's an overexcitement of energy in a negative fashion. They unconsciously seek any stimulus and draw some of their energy to fury out of their body. They're trying to escape their own inertia, their own discomfort. And this takes an enormous toll on their health and often their finances. I've also struggled with this one. An older version of myself has struggled with this one for sure. Jesus Christ. I used to seek distraction in drugs, alcohol, friends, relationships that were not serving me or them. Like clothing, shopping, modeling jobs. I could literally go on. Like anything, working out, Jesus Christ, coffee and working out were huge distractions for me. Ironically enough, not eating was a huge distraction for me. Treating my body in ways that are not kind. So this person is so uncomfortable with their state of being that they keep outsourcing and distracting themselves so they don't have to feel the lack inside. They don't have to feel the weight of their patterns and ill habits. They're so busy out here that they can't sit still. Because the moment they sit still, they feel the weight and the pain and the discomfort of their patterns and what it's doing to their psyche and body. So they continually seek outside of themselves in very adverse ways. And it says here that the person that is in this reactive nature of diversion within this shadow state of inertia cannot keep serious commitments or relationships for any length of time, because eventually all relationships, once they get close enough, start to see the patterns, the habits, and they start to call out the individual, which makes the individual uncomfortable. Once again, become restless and start to let me just trash that and find a new relationship. These people are addicted to novelty because in order to come into communion with something on a real, deep, true gnosis requires familiarity, observance, and that makes them uncomfortable. These people can never rest or relax. So the way you know if you are struggling with this is, am I always restless? Am I always seeking something to distract me? Can I literally sit still for even 10 minutes? Try it out. Try to sit still for 10 minutes, meditate for lack of better words. You don't even have to close your eyes. You can literally sit still and stare at a pen. Every time you find the mind drifting, oh right, I'm staring at the pen. See how uncomfortable it makes you. That was a really interesting chapter. And I'm actually very glad that for whatever reason yesterday, things were not lying for me to make this video, because I just remembered that at the beginning of this recording, I said, oh, I'm feeling a little low energy today. Now I feel super amped. Just going over this material always helps me get back into alignment. And yeah, thank you guys for listening. Just a reminder, these are my personal downloads and insights. I'm aware that you who's watching this have your own, and I would love to hear them in the comments. And I guess last reminder, this is all for the purpose of fun. This is not meant to stress you out or drive you into bouts of existentialism. Discussing material like this is meant to fuel curiosity and bring you into greater levels of presence and love so that you can, get into alignment with that higher purpose. I would love to also hear your guys' higher purpose if the higher purpose I offered you of presence does not resonate. I think there's infinite amounts of higher purposes, so I'd be very curious to read yours. I will see you guys next time to discuss the gift frequency of determination. Love and aloha. Hey guys, thanks again for tuning in with me for this Gene Keys episode. I also just wanted to come on here and start promoting my one-to-one coaching that I offer to women and girls ages 16 to 35. If you've followed me on Instagram for a while, you might be a little bit familiar with my story. I was a model in New York City for 5 years, and in that time frame, I did quite some damage. I developed a really severe eating disorder, body dysmorphia, chronic anxiety. Oh my gosh, I couldn't even go out to dinner without thinking about how much calories, how much I'd have to overwork out in order to compensate for what I was eating. All of those issues led to quite a depression and turned into PCOS, and I also lost my menstrual cycle for over 5 years. All of this amalgamation of issues led me to soon realize that something needed to change. I went through much work. Many people helped me to get to where I am now, and I'm so thrilled to say I'm living such a more abundant life, and I don't feel zapped and drained and fear of judgment anymore like I used to. I would love to offer what I've learned through my own embodied experience, the meditative techniques that have gravitated toward me, and the own verified games that I've made up, and curated to help you walk home to more of you and who you really are, so that all of these things can stop draining your energy. You know, all the constant comparison to others and to your people on Instagram, all the over-analysis about working out and what you're eating or what you look like. All of these things are not what life's about, as cheesy as it sounds. And I would love to help you come into more unity with you if you struggle with any of these things and you're a woman or girl between the ages of 16 and 35. So feel free to reach out to me if one-on-one coaching sounds resonant. You can feel free to DM me through Instagram or contact me via email, both of which will be left below in the description box. So much love and aloha to you guys, and I'll see you all in the next video.